Hello there. This is Jim Anderson, and I'm going to talk about our pathway to financial health for our clients. We're Psalmtree Consulting, and we do financial management and consulting for medical practices. So, why do good accounting? I mean, why hire a good accountant? Why not just hire a bookkeeper who doesn't really know a debit from a credit? Not, they're not really a bookkeeper, but people who are using QuickBooks Online a lot of times hire our QuickBooks on desktop even. Will hire people that don't know a debit from a credit, but can fill out the forms and learn QuickBooks because it's such an easy interface. But what happens over time is you end up with books and records that are not going to serve you well. But keeping good records and doing this properly is the law. And you can see on here, I have some of the regulations that you could go and look up if you want to, that will tell you why it's important and why you have to keep books and records. It's the law. And it's necessary as a medical practice. It's also necessary because you also are subject to HIPAA. And that is something you need to consider as well. So if you don't keep good records, you are going to risk getting penalties, fees, paying high interest. If you get audited and they find significant errors, I mean, you're going to be paying a big tax bill, and it could be for state or federal. And if you're paying sales tax on anything, get the sales tax right, you can also end up with problems there as well. And doing the books also adds value. You want to be audit ready. That adds value to your business because you've done a good job keeping the books. You're going to impress bankers, you're going to impress investors. And if you decide to sell your business, it's going to also be worth more because they're going to be able to easily see what the practice is worth with the financial statements because they can rely on. And as you have your practice, you're going to be able to manage your cash flow. And I know, with medical practices, there's sometimes equipment costs, and you might want to buy some equipment, and maybe you don't want to borrow the money for it. And how do you know if you have the cash to do that? Because if you run out of cash, you can't pay your bills, and then you really can't take care of your patients if lights go out. So that's where it adds value. You're going to have a little more peace of mind about how things are going in your practice. And you're going to be and if you decide to sell, you retire, you're going to get more for your practice. So what we do when if we start working together, this is going to be what we start with, what we call a health check. We call it the QBO health check. Why is it QBO? QuickBooks Online. Because we work mainly with QuickBooks Online. Most books have lots of errors in them. And that's what we want to do. We want to look at your books, find out where the errors are. And we're going to screen for the bank reconciliations. Bank reconciliations are a foundation. to your having good books. That's where the cash is coming in and out of your bank account. That's the first place the IRS is going to look in an audit. We look at undeposited funds errors. In QuickBooks, there's an undeposited funds. Are you using that correctly? People that don't use that correctly sometimes end up double counting revenue. So you think you've made more money than you made, and you're probably paying more taxes. And your books are, the longer this goes on, the more your books are out of balance, or not out of balance, but are not showing you accurate information. We're going to look at your income statement and your balance sheet, make sure that everything looks good on there, that is being presented well, that you have the sections and things, the chart of accounts. We're going to be looking at your chart of accounts, and we're going to also see that on those financial statements and be able to make assessments at the health of your business based on that, the health of your books, I should say. And we're going to look at the accounts payable. Are you keeping an accounts payable? Do you know what you owe? What bills are outstanding? I don't care whether you're on a cash basis or not, you need to be tracking what you owe. And there in QuickBooks also, there are lists, any accounting system. There are different types of lists in the system that help you organize data. Are those lists set up properly? If they're not, we can clean those up as well. If you carry inventory and you track inventory, we can check to make sure that's being taken care of properly. And, if you pay sales tax on anything, we're also going to help with that. Help make sure that that's correct as well. So what if after we do a health check, you decide to hire me to clean up the books? This is what we're going to do. We're going to probably revise your chart of accounts. We're going to correct errors in your reconciliations and the entries, book entries that might be in error, and anything else that we found that needs to be cleaned up. And we're going to, once it's cleaned up, then you're going to have books that are going to be able to give you good, accurate financial statements. And if we're cleaning up for last year before you do your tax return this year, you're going to make sure you're not overpaying on taxes or accidentally underpaying that you're going to end up paying for later. We're going to we'll train your staff if they need to, because we're going to improve the bookkeeping workflows in your business as well. We want to clean that up. How many people, how many services and accountants do you hire that do this kind of thing? So, which brings up the point. I mean, would you then want to hire somebody to keep the books correctly? Or do you trust your staff, the current staff? If we train them, do you trust them to be able to do it correctly? But you do want somebody who knows accounting, that's been trained in accounting or educated in accounting. And if you hire us, we're going to be able to give you books that are going to stay in good health. You're going to have a rock solid, world-class accounting in your books. You're going to always be audit ready. You don't have to worry about it. And if you get audited, it's not going to be expensive. It's not going to be disruptive to the business. I know so many times that I've seen these practices and businesses that have been going through some kind of an audit, being acquired or getting a business loan, or they've recently acquired the business and the books are a mess, and they're trying to get audited financial statements because they got to give that to the bank for the loan that they've got. The bank wants to monitor the business, and the audit is a nightmare because they didn't keep good books, they didn't keep good records. we're going to make it possible for you to have easy access to investment capital, because you're going to have the records that are going to be reliable, that they're going to have confidence in. If you want to retire, you're going to be able to do that, because you've done a great job managing your finances in your practice. That's why you would hire us. So I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to talk a little bit more about this. We specialize in QuickBooks Online. There's a reason why we do that. And we specialize in medical practices, and there's a reason we do that. For QuickBooks Online, we use it because it's cloud-based. This is the future of software. And it's also going to be more secure. You're going to have a higher level of data security with a cloud-based system than a system that's on your computer. Because if your computer fails, you don't lose all your data. And a lot of times, if you're backing up, you might be able to get your data back, but you're not going to have that problem with cloud-based system. But you still back up on a cloud-based system just in case something goes wrong. It's less likely to go wrong. QuickBooks has a user-friendly interface, and it makes it easy and intuitive to use. So you're going to be able to access it from anywhere, and you're going to be able to use it because of the interface is going to allow you to figure out how to get the reports you want on the fly. It has superior integration capabilities. There's a wide range of apps out there that are continually expanding, and it's just going nuts. I mean, the stuff that's available to integrate with QuickBooks Online is just exploding, and it's going to makes your practice scalable. Let's say you want to open another office, and you're going to make that a separate entity, and maybe you're going to open another one over here, and you can grow your practice and almost infinitely, because each one is going to have its own QuickBooks Online account. And then you want to consolidate those financial reports into one so you can see how your practice is doing overall. And there's an app for that too. And you're going to be able to just set that up, and it will stay synced in real time to QuickBooks Online. This is why we do this. And it's also, over time, is becoming more and more automated. And it also has extensive reporting capability, very flexible reporting capabilities. Some people like to format their reports a certain way so it looks a certain way. And QuickBooks has a format that works very well, but it doesn't get complex to where you're taking your report and making it look pretty, the way you want it to look. It has a standard reporting format that looks professional and works, and it doesn't need to be fixed up and put in a different way to look at it. But with the apps that are available, if you really do want that, you can get that. It makes things a little more complicated, but you can do that. So that's why we use QuickBooks Online. Why do we go to medical? Why are we only doing medical practices? Well, for one, we have become experts in this area. We've served a lot of clients in both the medical and the dentistry field. Medical practices need help improving their bookkeeping. We found that a lot of the practices that we've gone into have had poor accounting procedures, accounting practices, and were setting themselves up for trouble if they needed to be audited. for any reason, for whatever reason. So they're not going to be able to do much with their practice because their financial information was not recorded very well. It's very common. So it sets you apart when you're able to do this. We've had numerous doctors reach out to us to clean up their books because they've needed to get audited financial statements or they're being audited by the IRS. And they were in a desperate situation because the IRS comes knocking on your door and they want to audit. That is going to be really disruptive to your business. So we found that there's a need for this. And we keep up in this particular field. So there's lots of special issues that are needed in this area that we can deal with, that we understand, and we know what needs to be done. So do you currently have an accountant for your practice? Maybe you have one that's just doing your taxes, not anything else, and you just have somebody in the office doing the books. That's a very common situation because a lot of times doctors think that they don't need an accountant as long as they can get the taxes done. The taxes are what's most important. And if they get their taxes done correctly and they stay in compliance that way, they should be okay. Unfortunately, that's only one piece of the puzzle, but that's what most people think that they need. But so many CPAs and accountants, consultants out there, bookkeepers, don't do the things that we do because we're really more than just bookkeeping. If we're going to start doing your bookkeeping, we're going to be doing a whole lot more. We're going to be setting, if you need a new system set up, we can set up a new system. We're going to do rolling cash forecasts so you are on top of your cash flow. We're going to help you with your tax goals, helping you do tax planning. This is not something you do at the end of the year with your CPA before you do your taxes. This is something that goes on all year long. And you got to prepare for it. You got to document it correctly. When you do those kind of things, you've got a lot more opportunity to save money on your taxes. Make sure that you're audit ready. We do that. How many other bookkeepers will do that? We're going to provide professional financial statements for you and analysis and maybe even some consulting. And we can do customized reports for your particular situation for things that you need to stay on top of. And we're going to do all of this for you, kind of like being a fractional CFO. But we're doing everything from the top down or bottom up, however, we're doing the whole thing there. So we're kind of like a one-stop shop. And if you want your CPA to continue to do your taxes, you have a good relationship with them, that's okay. We work with them. You don't have to use us to do your taxes. So don't worry about that. Every situation is a little different. And we provide tremendous value because our reports are accurate and on time. We have access to a premier group of accountants across the US that'll help us get questions answered that otherwise we wouldn't be able to answer. Because there's no way anybody can know everything there is to know. And it's good to have a good network of resources to get the answers. I'm experienced and trained as a CFO. I've been a CFO for multiple companies and, also been a controller for multiple companies. I owned my own business at one point. So I was the CEO and the CFO. And increased cash flow because of the way we're handling things. You're going to have more cash to work with than you otherwise did because you weren't handling it wisely. and you're going to have high value reports because we're going to make sure those reports are what you need. And we do fixed fee pricing. So you know exactly what it's going to cost you every month. I should say, the investment that you're going to make every month in keeping your books clean, and no surprises, no extra fees. So with that, that's what we do. And I hope that it looks attractive to you, that we might be able to help you. I don't know. We would like to help. If not, that's fine too. Just want to make sure that you are taken care of. If you want to have further conversation, my calendar URL is right there on the slide. Just go there, make an appointment, and let's talk. First, when it won't cost you anything. We'll get to know your practice and what your concerns are, and we'll be able to determine whether we want to move forward with a cleanup, a health check first, and maybe even a cleanup. So with that, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this video and learn more about us.